Good afternoon, my friends. This is Paul, and today I'm going to be reviewing to you Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games Tokyo 2020 for the Nintendo Switch.
Or so they say, but there's no such thing as the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games.
No, that is not a reference to beat-em-ups. That is an old Scooby-Doo cartoon. See if any of you can tell me the name of it, and we'll see who's really the old one among this community. At first glance, this seems like yet another Mario and Sonic crossover that has a bunch of mini-games based on whatever Olympic Games was happening the year after it came out. Which is so ironic in hindsight, the fact that they didn't realize that we'd be doing a real-life Virtue's Last Reward imitation and having an actual pandemic, and so a lot of the stuff that they were predicting didn't happen. Yeah, maybe Sega can learn from this and actually make their games based on the year that they came out, instead of being all futuristic like most sports titles. So yes, I'm not going to beat around the bush. It's more minigames. More minigames that have either extremely hit or miss controls. But one thing that sets this entry apart, besides being the first one on the Switch, and so therefore looking by far the most gorgeous out of all of them, is the fact that you also have retro-themed minigames, where the characters and graphics take on the appearances of their original games, as well as the music and voice acting becoming much more compressed, but you also have a story mode to tie everything together. The story mode is pretty predictable. It's nothing that's going to blow your mind, and even though it tries to make things grander than it is by giving you a world map where you can choose where you want to go in Tokyo, as well as being able to move the characters around in 3D space, it's really limited. And really, it's only there if you want to be a completionist and collect everything. Otherwise, you just go where the glowing dot is and get to the next event. It really isn't as big of a deal as it should be. However, where the adventure mode really shines isn't the story, but the character interactions. It's really cool to see how Mario and Sonic would get along in a kind of dire situation. And it's especially cool to see Bowser actually in a prominent speaking role after Nintendo seems to be sidelining his humor in the more recent Paper Mario games. Take a hint, Nintendo, this is how you make Bowser, not like the garbage that you put him through in Sticker Star. I like how the story mode keeps switching between the past and present, because the setup is that Mario, Sonic, Dr. Robotnik, and Bowser are all trapped in a video game called Tokyo 64, which is not only a nice nod to the Nintendo 64, but also 1964, which was when the Olympic Games were held in Tokyo. And this gives you context for why the retro minigames exist, and why they weren't just put in, I don't know, to be cool. And I really like that approach. I really like it when movies will do stuff that doesn't make sense and then come up with an explanation as to why it makes sense. So that is very nice. Also, there are exclusive minigames that you have to unlock through the story mode, and even though you can play them at any time later, it is nice that you get even further context. All of these minigames are really cool. Just to name a few, there's a section where Mario has to sneak through a museum avoiding the common Super Mario Bros. Enemies, or when Sonic has to jump over boulders and spike pits to chase after Dr. Robotnik, making it feel like a classic Sega Genesis Sonic game. These are really cool, even if I think a lot of them were over way too quickly, with the exception of the museum game, which was a little bit too long in my opinion. So, length aside, these are easily the best part of the whole package, and a lot of them I actually think would make for a really good standalone game in this style. I really hope Nintendo and Sega can get on that, because we could be seeing the next Sonic Mania, if you know what I mean. As for the standard Olympic-themed minigames, they're all over the place in quality. Some are laugh-out-loud terrible, like the discus throw, which apparently uses motion controls, but I could never figure out how to do that. It seemed like my controller wasn't giving me any indication that I was tilting it at all. It's like, if you're going to use motion controllers, at least give the player some kind of feedback so that they know where they are in 3D space, so they don't have to keep second guessing about everything. However, the minigames that were good never went into phenomenal territory, but there were a few that I didn't mind replaying, and there were a few that controlled relatively nicely. From the modern games, I really like the climbing minigame, because I'm actually really good at climbing in real life, and so a couple of real life strategies applied there. Swimming was really nice. I liked the fact that the movement of your joysticks had to mimic the swimming motions of your individual character, therefore making character selection more prominent than it is in most of the games. Some of my least favorites included judo, which is like a psychological boxer type thing from Japan. Yeah, it's pretty bizarre, and it mainly just ended up being a button masher at the end of the day. I also didn't like the disc throw, and canoeing was hit or miss. Sometimes it was cool, and sometimes I was just too tired to be able to do it properly. Or maybe that's because I was playing the game too late into the night, so my thumb that was normally able to rotate really quickly just couldn't do it. The character selection was really nice. I liked how it seemed like there was equal representation from both the Mario and Sonic series. I also like how they handled the unlockable characters, because normally in a video game, once you unlock a character, you can use them pretty much whenever. But here in Mario and Sonic, for some of the mini-games, you unlock a specific secret character for that game, so therefore there's more context for why the secret character is there, as opposed to just saying, let's just throw Luma into every minigame, even when Luma might not be as good at one as another. Of course, you could make the argument about pretty much any character. But one area where Mario and Sonic really shines is that in previous entries, characters are ranked based on subjective tiers. Like they'd say, this is power type, speed type, etc., which could get relatively vague if you didn't know what you were talking about. However, in this game, the game very clearly tells you which characters have which abilities, and it's sometimes hard to tell which one is the definitive best skill set to have. Sonic, of course, is going to run fast, but are you going to want speed as opposed to maybe more precision in your controls? So it's a nice risk-reward type system that really encourages experimentation. Although if I'm going to be real with you guys, I think swimming as Daisy is perhaps the most intuitive because of the wide strokes that she takes with her arms being more humanoid. So swimming is the one minigame where I think each individual character has their own merits. But overall, switching characters was a lot of fun. And even if you did decide to do random and then you didn't like what they picked, it didn't lock your choice in like most video games do. Overall, the character models looked great, and I really liked how the characters actually changed their outfits depending on the context of the sport. So if you were surfing, for example, they'd wear those one pieces to eliminate wave resistance. At least I think that's the case. In swimming, everyone would wear a swimsuit, and when you were doing karate, everyone would have those white robes, whatever they're supposed to be called. And that little attention to detail is really nice. I really liked that in Mario Tennis Aces, and it seems like that game was the inspiration for why they're appropriately dressed. There are a few odd exceptions. Yoshi, Donkey Kong, and Bowser are just going to look however they want in any minigame, and some of the Sonic characters just insist on having certain set pieces, like Amy is always going to wear a dress, for example. I don't know why, but that's just how she likes to do it. And the music is okay. This game isn't gonna blow you away by any means. It's yet another minigame collection in a series that was debuting on a console that was already notoriously known for having a lot of minigames. However, it's a fun time waster if you really like the Mario and Sonic games. As far as the story mode, you're not gonna find anything too deep. However, if you've been burnt out with the terrible treatment Bowser's been given in recent Mario RPGs, you will be glad to know that he actually feels more like a character now. Even if it's nowhere near as cool as how they treat him in Paper Mario 2, but at least it's something, and it seems like maybe Nintendo could learn a thing or two from that. Overall, even though this has 2020 in the title, it came out in 2019, so I'm not going to give it a ranking. But I would say that this is alright. It occasionally gets into decent and sometimes great territory, but it hardly ever feels like a run out of the park. So I guess if I had to give it a ranking, I'd probably say a silver medal. It's definitely an improvement over the previous games, especially since you have the ability to just use buttons without the crazy gimmicks of the systems that they used to be on. But on the other hand, not all the minigames control that great, and the story mode probably could have been a lot better if maybe the scenarios were not so predictable and generic. Also, this feels so much like a Sonic story. Just saying. Anyway, with that, thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, critiques, please leave them in the comment section. And until the next time, keep the faith, stay epic, God bless, and if you're going to name an event after an upcoming year, make sure you get your facts right or polish your crystal ball properly next time, because the Tokyo 2020 games didn't happen. Bye-bye.